Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I hope everyone's doing well. It's kind of a gloomy day out, but that's okay. Good morning, McKenna. I hope the pizza was good last night. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Sorry I was a day late. That's okay. Good morning, Kaylin. How are you? Good morning, K-Mac. All right. So today we are going to be talking a little bit about what we saw in the gospel this morning, with the idea that the two disciples that we come up on in the story, they seem to be kind of slipping back into that sense of normalcy of like within their life. So unfortunately I don't have it with me, but they're walking home. They've got this journey they have to go on, and on this seemingly normal, seemingly mundane walk, they run into Christ. And I think that's where I'm going to pick up from, because it definitely, at least for me, I know for a couple others who have expressed this, well, I'm glad you guys enjoyed it, McKenna. It feels like life has kind of slipped into this kind of simple, mundane reality. Father Rob this morning put it as a Groundhog's Day trance. And I really like that imagery of kind of the day, like, because it does feel like the days are running together with no idea what day it is. But so the disciples this morning are returning home, and everything's kind of returning to a sense of normalcy after Easter. And I know a lot of people are longing for that return to normalcy, but I think it needs to be expressed that, like, even when we don't really see Jesus there, Jesus is there with us in our walk. Even when we don't recognize that as Jesus, like, Jesus is there walking with us, establishing a sense of peace with us, that we may not know that we have. When you read it, when you read the gospel story, there's something in my nose. The disciples addressed the fact that they had felt this shaking in their hearts when this man addressed them, but they couldn't put their finger on what it was. And I really like that peace, that love, that comfort that Jesus provides, still being with them, even though they're not able to directly put their finger on it. And that idea of that Jesus being with us, even in the mundane, even in the everyday life. I just really like that idea this morning. And so that really begged the question to me of, am I waiting for a sense of normalcy to return? Am I sitting around waiting for the pandemic to pass? Am I sitting on my hands waiting for things to return to a sense of normal? Or am I taking this as an opportunity? Am I kind of the way I put it last week was, things either happen for us or they happen to us. And it's in that perspective that you kind of decide how you're going to carry yourself. Things that are either happening for you, so like as an opportunity for you to learn, for you to grow somewhere in that, or to you, something's happening to you, something's bad's happening, something out of your control. And neither of those are necessarily wrong. I just think that from the perspective of this is happening for me, you're able to have your eyes opened up a little bit more, and you're able to kind of see how God is moving, how God is working in all of this. And so in that way, we can kind of change our perspective, and see the individual day as an opportunity rather than just a mashup of yesterday and what tomorrow will be. And in that, we're able to fully appreciate the day that we've been given. And I wanted to say that this, it sounds very optimistic. It sounds very happy-go-lucky, camp counselor-y, if you will. And I don't want to come across as that, because I don't want to negate the current feelings that we have. The feelings of the seniors who are never going to be able to feel like they have a sense of closure to the end of their senior years and to graduations. To student athletes who aren't going to be able to participate in that last game. To those of us who are now in a position of having to teach ourselves the rest of our semester. And the sense of longing for intimacy with our friends. I can't imagine how many of us are really missing that in our lives right now. So we have to recognize that aching and that feeling that we have inside, and name that, and be okay with feeling those feelings, while also understanding that today is a gift, today is a blessing, and that we need to be able to seize this opportunity as this day. Around my sophomore year of undergrad, or freshman and sophomore year of undergrad, were really hard times on my mental health, and one of the ways that I dug myself out of that was having to get past the sense of, why is today any different than yesterday? Why is today significant? And I had kind of dug myself into this hole. And one of the ways I pulled myself out was recognizing that every day is an opportunity, but it's an opportunity to better myself and to better the lives of those around me. And that as someone who believes they're called to be one of God's faithful servants, that by not seizing the opportunity of the day that I've been given, I am not fully appreciating the day. I'm not fully appreciating the opportunity that I've been given by God to help others, to help myself. And so with that, I developed this kind of idea of every day gives you an opportunity to better yourself physically, mentally, or spiritually. And, when I find myself being run down, when I find myself falling into the idea of this is all kind of mundane, I look for those ways in which I have either have or have not been bettering myself. In any of those ways, I think about, have I reached out to anybody? Have I tried to connect with somebody new and talk to them about ways that I'm bettering myself, and to develop that conversation between each other, and then they can express how they're trying to better themselves, and we can do this together and be in community during all of this. I really liked something that Eddie said this morning in his ASP homily, and I can't believe I didn't address this from the get-go. I'm so incredibly proud of Eddie and Elise for sharing their homilies this morning. It must have been very difficult to have to do, knowing that we're not going back to ASP this year. But I liked what Eddie said. While he said something along the lines of, while we're in this period of social isolation, individuals in those communities are isolated, not only socially, but from opportunities, from healthy food, from opportunities for good work, for good education in their schools. They're isolated from those things that we take as normal. It is raining on me right now. So they don't have, they're isolated from some of those good, healthy opportunities that we can so easily take for granted. So I wanted to call that out to you in a sense of there are still plenty of opportunities before us, so that we are able to continue to better ourselves in this time, and try and get out of, try and break free from that sense of Groundhog Day. Because if I remember the movie correctly, Bill Murray goes through it time and time again, and it's not until he undergoes the internal change of being able to, treat others better and to really appreciate his day. It took time and time again for him to really fully appreciate that and break through and get on the other side of Groundhog Day. And so I really think that while we're all in this kind of mental space of Groundhog Day, kind of feeling that run down, mundane, simplistic lifestyle, that we should really seize these days as opportunities to continue to connect with friends, to continue to better ourselves and build each other up, to try and fulfill a need. I know that St. Paul's has their St. Paul's Cares page where people are reaching out as to ways they can help, and people are trying to have their needs be heard. And I think that's super important, and I love the fact that our church is doing that, because in that way we are truly continuing the kingdom of God. We're truly continuing the ministry of Christ, and that is something that is really, really beautiful, and unfortunately it's not something that every church does. It's not something that every church is doing. So to be a part of a community that is doing that is really, really beautiful. And like I said, there are still opportunities for us to grow, physically, spiritually, and mentally. One of the ways I plan on doing that is once I get to the other side of finals week this week, I'm planning on reading one of Bonhoeffer's biographies and just reading the ways in which he continued to fight for justice within Nazi Germany. I plan on reading Archbishop Desmond Tutu's book about how through this broken world that we live in, we are all still made and called for goodness in our relationship with God. And so I haven't dug into those yet, but I'm really looking forward to that. So in those ways, I plan on building myself up spiritually. I would commend you to read the Psalms, and that's another spiritual practice I've picked up. But I know that it can be tough. I know that the motivation isn't always there. But what I've found is that when you're on the other side of doing something like this, when you're on the other side of your spiritual practice, you can find that the motivation to do it tomorrow is there in that moment, and not necessarily as you approach it. The motivation to do it again is at the conclusion of that long, deep breath. So I would really encourage you guys to try and just find a way to reorient yourselves, change your perspective on what each day can look like, and have it be an opportunity for something, an area where you can grow in your friendships, in yourself internally, and pour into others and allow others to pour into you. Again, super, super proud of Eddie and Elise for the homilies they gave this morning. They did an amazing job. I know this wasn't the ideal way they wanted to do it, but I'm extremely thankful that they did. And as you go throughout this week, I would really commend that you guys try and seek the peace that is there with you in the mundane, and that idea that Christ is with us in all of this, and try and slip out of this Groundhog Day trance that we've kind of been stuck in by seizing new opportunities and finding ways to build yourself up and build up those of us who are around us who may need a little bit more support during all this. So yeah, that's what I got. That's my spiel for this morning. Now the sun comes out. Yay. Reminders, tonight is the dad joke competition with EYC, excuse me. Mixed up ASP and EYC. Tonight is the dad joke competition. High schoolers and middle schoolers are going to be doing it together so we can see who the funniest in the group is. I am really excited for that. I think it's going to be really great. Going to make sure we keep our jokes episcopropria, as we like to say. Bible study this upcoming Wednesday. We're going to dive back into the Psalms, I think. That's all I got. Yes, please do send your jokes to me ahead of time. That was something I was hoping you guys would do. That way I could kind of look over them and put a red marker through them if I needed to. I didn't think I would need to on a lot of you guys, but you never know. You never know. You guys have imaginations that are vast and wild and running free, and I don't want to limit that, but got to keep it appropriate for the church. So I will see you guys at EYC tonight. I will see you all at Bible study on Wednesday. I love you all very much. Reach out if you need anything at all. I am here for you to support you in any way that you need. And have a great rest of your Sunday, guys.